Hey, welcome back to the Isaac Jarnagin podcast. Today I talked to Ryan Dozer. Ryan Dozer's been in the field of digital marketing for years, specializing in SEO marketing, pay-per-click marketing, as well as affiliate marketing. He's had years of experience in the corporate world and recently has been doing it on his own. Today we talked about basic SEO term, his AI workflows that you could implement in your day-to-day life, and we dove into how he co-founded The Loop, which is a networking group here in Des Moines, Iowa. Pretty dope. Let's get into it. Dude, how you doing, Ryan?
What's going on, man? How are you?
Pretty good. We were just talking about you're going to be seeing my brother here next week.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to hopping in the studio at Pixel Labs, talk about some paid search, SEO, AI, all sorts of digital marketing stuff.
Yeah. So maybe about a year ago, I'm getting a freaking Discord call. Maybe about a year ago, he's like, dude, if you want to see people killing it at LinkedIn, you got to look up this guy from Des Moines, Ryan Dozer. He does some crazy stuff. So I've heard about you quite a bit. So that's when I connected with you on LinkedIn.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I don't know about killing it, but what I've come to find out, and it's similar with other algorithms, right, is like I spend all this time on like a mad scientist post where I'm in the weeds, like all these crazy insights, gets 200 impressions, right? But then I post something dumb, like one sentence, like SEM is good, and I get like 1,000 impressions. You know what I mean? So it's just weird how the algorithm works, and I hate it.
Right. No, I totally get that. You want to do what interests you, which is those, big analytical posts, but sometimes you got to dumb it down a little bit for sure. How'd you and Aaron meet?
So yeah, we met, I think it was Pi Sigma Epsilon, which was a business org at UNI. So once I learned that Aaron was doing digital marketing, we kind of formed an instant connection, right? Because like it was a sales org. So there were very few people doing actual digital marketing in the org, which is all, primarily sales and other business aspects and focuses. So Aaron and I quickly connected through that, and we've kind of stayed in touch ever since, off and on. And he's just a great guy, right? I'll see him out randomly in Des Moines a couple times and we chat for a half hour. He's just someone good to have in network, man.
For sure. And obviously you get into the world of like Google advertising and stuff of that nature, but if you were to give a rundown of like what you do, I would appreciate that because I only know the basics.
Yeah, so I am all over the place. Whenever someone asks me that question, I say two things. I'm all over the place and every day is war, right? So like literally I don't know what's going on, and I wake up and there's like 10 missed calls, 10 text messages. I'm like, all right, well, I got to conquer the day, right? So what I do now, I am on my own. So I own my own LLC. It's called ThriveOneFive Media. I don't really market that too much. I've been having some website problems, so I just like don't even want to deal with it right now. I have all this client work going on. It's just kind of a waste of my time. So I partner with a company called Empathy First Media, and we do lead generation for holistic cancer clinics. So cash-based medical clients, primarily in Arizona and southern parts of the United States. So think about, are you familiar with like holistic clinics at all?
No, I'm not. Enlighten me.
Yeah. So I didn't know anything about this either. It's essentially chemotherapy alternatives. So think about, there's like IV therapy, red light therapy, there's, IMT is another one. There's all these different holistic and natural treatments that are, anti-chemotherapy. And it's all cash-based. Insurance doesn't cover it. So you're talking 60, 65, 70K just to get in the door, right?
Right.
So it's very high-ticket lead gen, very competitive. Typical marketing, when you have high-ticket lead gen, it's going to be A, competitive, number one, but B, when you're in the medical field, I don't know if you've ever done marketing, for Google in the medical field, but there are all sorts of uphill battles. And I won't get into the rabbit hole of why I think that is. But I think where that's going to go. And it's a 1-2 punch, man. So it's like, really, I've been in the weeds in this for months now, working with him, trying to figure this out. And we've seen ROI on the Google Ads account. So I manage the Google Ads, and that for our client that spends probably $1,000 a day, maybe $2,000 a day on Google Ads, which is a big budget, right? It's like 30 grand a month.
Oh yeah.
And so we actually took that over from a big advertising agency. I don't know if I'll say who they are. Disruptive Advertising is who it was. They're based in Utah. So we ended up going in the weeds, and they're this huge agency, right? I'm sure they do good work, and I'm not going to slander them. But we found the change history, and there were no changes in 2 months besides like budget increases and this and that. So I screenshotted it and sent it to our client. I'm like, what is going on here? You're paying these guys 10 grand a month. They're not doing any work. He's like, huh, yeah, you're right. And so that was like our way in the door to like basically, you know, my business partner likes to say crucify them. And that's kind of how we got the business.
For sure, for sure. So you're the person you partner with, is that your business partner, that elder?
Yeah, his name's Daniel Lynch. He so if you look him up and go down the rabbit hole of like his YouTube and his Twitter, he is quite the character.
Yeah. How did you dive into this world? Like, where'd you start going into Google advertising? Because for me, it's not the most appealing thing ever, in my opinion. You know, I go towards the, you know, video production side of things. I'm like the multi-tool, like I like making things look good, but when it comes to the back end stuff, I kind of fared away. When did you get into the back end stuff of that?
Yeah, so I guess I'll just give you my background of just in the real world, because that's where it all started.
Yeah.
Even at UNI, you know, we learned the basics and this and that. I had an internship at a company called Animod Global. Aaron Domino, he's the guy who runs that company. And from what I see, they're still kicking ass, right? Great opportunity. That's where I kind of got the intro level of digital marketing, paid search, SEO. So I owe him a lot of praise. But after that, my first role was actually at Meredith Corp. Are you familiar with Meredith Corporation? So
I've heard it, but.
Okay, so they're Dotdash Meredith now. They just got bought out, I think in 2021, somewhere around there. But they own People Magazine. They own Better Homes and Gardens. They own probably 25, 30 publications that are, you know, really household names. So me and another guy, we were running the Google ads and Bing ads and the whole paid search shebang for Meredith, like People Magazine. And you're talking like $500,000 a month in ad spend that we were managing. So that's really like my first step of getting actually in the weeds of Google ads and figuring out what the hell is going on.
Right.
So that was a crazy experience. And then, you know, I kind of got sick of the corporate world about, I don't know, maybe a year and a half in, figured it wasn't for me. And so then I started to learn SEO on my own on the side, because I wasn't doing anything with SEO in my 9 to 5. That was just, it was all paid search, 9 to 5, in the weeds, search term reports. So then I just started to learn SEO, and I started this blog called Beers to Careers. I don't know if, you know, you were around to like see it back then.
No.
That was kind of like my first dive at blogging and like trying to figure out, why is this ranking? How do I rank for these keywords? Why do these things show up on the top of Google? And that was like my light bulb in the head moment of like, holy shit, like there's so much that goes into this SEO stuff. And then I actually had a family friend, which is all great timing, because I had a family friend reach out to me. He was with the PGA of America at the time. And he started doing his own affiliate marketing project. And he's like, hey, Ryan, you know, I'm doing this affiliate stuff. I know you're at Meredith. I know you're in the corporate world, but like, check this out. I'm looking to hire and scale. Let me know. So that turned into a great conversation. And I worked with him for 3 years, doing affiliate marketing SEO. I'm not sure how familiar you are with affiliate marketing and kind of how that all works.
Yeah.
But yeah, so affiliate marketing, SEO, did some email marketing. I mean, I was just all over the place with affiliate stuff. And then I did that for 3 years. I got a call from, not a call, but quote unquote, a call from this company called 3 Ships in Raleigh, North Carolina, for a senior SEO analyst that opened up. And I trusted the guy that referred me. So I'm like, you know what, I'll give this a look and just see what happens. I was bought in on the interviews. I mean, this company's legit. They are a big time affiliate marketing agency. Have you ever heard of like thisoldhouse.com?
Yeah.
They own that. So they own that. And then they also, they're like media partners with a bunch of other people. But anyways, that was just a great experience doing, you know, very high level SEO. Are you familiar with like DRDA and like the SEO lingo?
No, I'm not familiar with the lingo at all. That's where that's where Aaron picks up for me.
Yeah. So no, there's domain rating and domain authority are kind of 2 metrics to like rate sites on their SEO level. So if you use a tool like SEMrush, which I'm sure you've heard of, or like Ahrefs, you can scan a site, and these sites that I was working with were like 90, 89 DRDA, which is crazy. Like People Magazine's like 95 DA, right? So I usually don't get to work with sites like that. So it was a great experience. Long story short, I just realized I couldn't work for anyone again. I'm sure you know that feeling, right?
Yeah.
Doing your own thing, which is cool. And I want to get into that later too and kind of hear what you're up to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I realized I couldn't work for anyone again. So I started, and I think it was April 1st, I went off on my own again. So like I said, I'm still doing the affiliate stuff.
Right.
And I'm also doing the holistic cancer lead gen stuff too. So I'm really all over the place, man. Every day's different.
So you're fresh into the, all right, let's try to do this on my own kind of grind.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, what the thing is, like, people don't realize, and I always recommend someone works for someone, right? Whether it's like corporate or agency, I always recommend you do that first if you have, aspirations to become an entrepreneur, because not only are you going to meet people that will lead to future connections down the road, you're also going to have access to all these tools that are expensive if you're going to do that on your own. And you're just going to get some really good experience. So like grind it out for like a year or 2 years in the real world at a 9-to-5 job, right? And then once you gain those skills and you gain the confidence and you start gaining connections and networking with people, then it might be time to take the leap. But I always suggest people do that first as they go the typical route.
Right. Funny you say that. I just talked to a guy a few weeks ago. He was talking about like, dude, if I have one thing, it's like, I wish I could work someone before I hopped into this, doing it on my own grind. And like you said, you had a huge budget for ads your first job. And you're just like, I get to dip into this, but I still get like thousands of dollars to play with, but kind of, so
It's just shareable.
You would never have on your own. You know what I mean? That's huge, valuable experience. I totally agree with that.
And absolutely, man. And at the end of the day, people will say, oh, just get certified and watch tutorials and do this and do that. But if you're not actually in the platform and learning and failing, like, you're not going to learn. That's just the reality of how things work,
Right. Oh, 100%. 100%. That's my biggest drawback is like, oh, I'm happy with where I'm at right now. But the one thing is I don't have any experience dipping into these more professional settings, playing with the tools, playing with that high dollar cash amounts, the shareholder money. That's something I missed.
You'll get there, bro. And one thing I'll tell you too is like, you're obviously very talented at graphic design, video production, and that side of things. I would just double down. Right? Because anytime you're going to get a client that wants to do, paid search or SEO, just outsource it. I wouldn't even waste your time like getting into the weeds. Learn the basics so you know how to talk if there's a potential conversation, like when it comes to sales, so you know enough to like close the deal, right? But yeah, just literally just get good at 1 or 2 skills and double down so you're better than everyone else. That would be my recommendation.
No, 100%. Learn the one skill, go farther at it. If you try to dip out into too many, you're going to fall for sure. Is there anything in your business that you have noticed you're outsourcing, or is it all pretty direct towards? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so no, I used to outsource a ton of content work. And now with AI, so I would pay someone, 50, 60, sometimes $100 an article, depending on what it is. But now with AI, and I'll just throw out some kind of tips here of my AI tool set of what I use. SEO writing.ai is actually a good one. For blog posts, I mean, for $20 a month, it cranks out like 23,000 word articles that we're already starting to rank for certain queries. Now, time will tell, obviously, as the algorithms continue to update and tweaks will need to be made. But yeah, like fireflies.ai is like a note taker that, you integrate with any meeting app and it takes notes, right? So yeah, man, I mean, AI is literally, to answer your question, I was outsourcing, but like now that AI is just so advanced ever since, OpenAI released GPT 3.5 and GPT 4 language models, AI is just so advanced now that like, honestly, the middleman content writer, the middleman graphic designer, like when you talk about Midjourney, those people are really screwed in my opinion, because even if you're mediocre, these AI tools for $20 a month can just wipe people out.
Right. And so when you're getting blog posts written for you, what I've heard a lot of is people, they get it written for you and then they go back and read through it. Do you have to read through those, or is it usually pretty spot on?
Depends on the niche. So if you're, I'll throw a technical SEO term at you. So there's this thing called EEAT, Experience, Expertise, Authority, Trust. So in certain niches, it's called Your Money, Your Life, YMYL. So like healthcare. Right? Very important niche compared to tennis or, racquetball, or just something that's not as, like finances, health, something that's not like as impactful to people's lives, right? So when you're doing like AI tools and if you're in that Your Money, Your Life niche, you really have to be careful and reread stuff and make sure you're linking to, credible sources and you have good internal links, good images. Because if you're in those niches, Google will look at your stuff harder and it is harder to rank.
Dang, dude. And then the note-taking thing, that's through Google Meet there, and you just...
Yeah, so look up Fireflies AI. It can integrate with Google Meet. I believe there's I don't know if it's free. There's probably a free trial, but it integrates with Google Meet, Teams, all the popular meeting platforms. And what it does is it listens to your entire conversation. It records it. It transcribes it. It can even create action items based on what we're saying. It's pretty advanced.
Huh. And I've seen a lot of content from you just going around AI. What's your first in with AI, and why did you decide to double down into it?
Yeah, so obviously it's a growing niche, right? I actually presented on AI it's called Fuse DSM. They're like a chamber of commerce here in Des Moines.
Yeah.
There's probably 40, 50-ish people there, but the CEO messaged me, and I literally made a post on LinkedIn with my business partner saying can't wait to use AI with our clients, or we have a project or something along those lines. And she saw it, and she's like, hey, do you want to speak for Fuse DSM at this, lunch and learn? I'm like, all right, sure. I don't feel qualified, but I'll do it. So anyways, I prepared this presentation, mostly ChatGPT, Bard, the basics, and I get into the weeds. Have you ever heard of AI PRM?
No.
It's I would look that up. It's a Chrome extension for ChatGPT. So it curates all these different prompts for SEO, content, keywords. Instead of just actually writing the prompt yourself, it has a bunch of curated prompts with just one click, free extension. So long story short, I presented about all these different things, and I feel like I don't know a lot. I talked to my web developer, and he's telling me about AutoGPT and this new thing and that new thing. And I feel dumb. I feel dumber than rocks when I talk to him. And then I go and present to these 50, 40-year-old business owners, and I feel like Albert Einstein. You know what I mean? It's it's a whole different generation of people. And you have to understand the basics of AI, or you will get left behind. I mean, I talked about the middleman, writers and the middleman graphic designers. I think those are some of the first people out, along with data entry people, right? Because that can be automated pretty easily now.
Yeah, for sure. And I just feel like middlemen in general are in a little bit of trouble. I've done a little bit of work with just doing some TikTok promotions. I've just uploaded on TikTok for the last few years and gotten random opportunities. What I've always kind of noticed is it's never the company coming directly to me. It's the middleman. And so it's another marketing company that comes to me. And I'm like, hey, here in a few years, me, meaning anyone else that's going to be doing these, is going to be smart enough to go right towards the company and learning these new strategies. So middlemen just in general, rather than in the world of creation or the world of even content creation, they're in trouble for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. And what you do, some people might say, well, there's AI video now, right? I don't know if you've heard of a tool called Pictory AI. So I've actually used that a little bit. But the reality is, if you're so good at what you do, it's going to be very hard for AI to replicate that. I think we're still in the very early stages of AI putting out quality work. And it makes sense because if you think about it, AI is already taking inputs from what's already out there on the internet. So if most stuff out there on the internet is not the highest quality, so if AI is pulling stuff that's not the highest quality, it's just recycling. And so it's not going to be, better than some human who actually has the emotions, right? Who can actually put together and go shoot real footage over just B-roll stuff,
Right. And the closest tool that I've seen that would be applicable to my life, have you seen Opus AI at all?
I have not seen Opus AI.
Okay, so that you throw in a podcast like this one, and it will find 10 or so notable clips, and it will put it together and do captions with highlighting the bold words, throwing in necessary emojis, and
I love that.
It's really close, dude. It's scary close. It's awesome.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, Opus AI, OPUS, and so just that's crazy to me. I mean, but I totally get that. I mean, if it's recycling average stuff, you're not gonna get replaced. But if you are average,
there's so much clickbait. There's so much clickbait, on YouTube. It's all shiny object syndrome. It's the next ChatGPT hack for SEO and how to write all these articles with ChatGPT. And it's dude, ChatGPT long form content is terrible. If you ever go through and write long form 2,000, 3,000 word articles with ChatGPT, it sucks. I mean, you could have the best prompt. And one reason is, it's recycling all the content that's already out there, whether it's humans or AI, right? But two, their servers are not past September 2021, I believe, yet. So when you're going off data from 2021, a lot of times articles have data that's fresh, right? 2023, a statistic from 2023, or just, a lot of times you have to keep your content fresh. And AI, especially with ChatGPT being from September 2021 cutoff, it's not going to get the job done.
Right. How do you stay updated mostly with new AI tools? Is that just through social media or how?
Yeah, so I follow a newsletter. I think he's called the AI Solopreneur. He's a good one. I found him on Twitter, I think. He knows a lot what's going on. I follow a couple of YouTubers. I don't know off the top of my head what they are. Follow some people on LinkedIn and Twitter. But at the end of the day, man, you just can't get caught up. There's so much shiny object syndrome. It reminds me so much of crypto, when crypto first got on the scene, right? It's like, have to buy Bitcoin. Oh my God, Ethereum, you have to get in. And I'm a big crypto guy, right? I'm not trying to I buy Bitcoin every day. I'm not trying to shame on crypto. But this whole wave reminds me of crypto, where it's like, oh my God, the next tool, let's buy the next tool. Oh my God, this tool, let's buy this tool. And it's like, let's pump the brakes here. Let's get back to the basics, find one tool for each little niche, right? So like SEOwriting.ai is my blog post tool. Midjourney is my graphics tool. And then I use ChatGPT and Bard as just great for short form content and just general questions that you can prompt these tools with. So I think that's where a lot of people fail on this AI stuff, is it's so overwhelming and there's so much shiny object syndrome. Just learn the basics. Learn ChatGPT, learn Bard. Do some research on what are the best AI SEO tools out right now. Learn Midjourney, start small,
Right. If you can just utilize one of those per day, it'll start to multiply over time, but at a good speed. And you gotta kind of embrace it and love it a little bit. If you just see it for the shiny side, you'll quickly realize that this stuff isn't all amazing and sparkly at the top. It's pretty down and dirty if you need it to be, and there's some knowledge you need to know about it.
Absolutely, man. And that's what I told everyone in that presentation. I'm just like, I know it's scary, right? And that we could go down the rabbit hole of just robots and military and all the dark stuff of AI, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, this is literally replacing entry-level people. This is helping you save hours of time. You always have to see the positive. I listen to a lot of Naval Ravikant. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but I don't know if he coined this term, and I would look into him. He's very intelligent. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever listened to and read. But he always talks about how there's always a positive and there's always a negative in every single situation. Whether how slim that positive is, it can still be considered a positive. So the same thing with AI. There's always positives and negatives in every single situation.
Right. You can't deny the negative, though.
Correct. Absolutely.
People hear, oh no, people are going to get cut off, but it's we're going to be able to go towards more efficient things. These people are going to be replaced and put in spots where we need people.
And my response to that is, if you're one of those people, don't be scared and don't be reactive, right? It's coming. I mean, it should be pretty obvious that, entry-level data management and middleman content writers, right? Those are going to be some of the first people out the door. So why don't we take the steps now to make sure that we have the adequate skills and, we're learning the basics of ChatGPT instead of, oh my God, AI just replaced me. Now I need someone to come help save me. That's just how people are, and it's sad.
One thing that I've noticed even in my business right now is we need to be acting, looking forward, taking a deep breath and looking to how can I best do this situation instead of reacting, which is oh no, this has just happened. Someone help me. It's hard. So with AI, you could just be all right, this is a thing. How can I do it? How can I do one tool a day? That's good stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, and I fall into that trap a lot too, where it's I'm very spread thin most days. I have a lot going on and I need to figure out better ways of automating and, cutting my time back. But yeah, it's the same exact thing. It's this happens. Oh my God, I'm reactionary. How do I fix it? Versus I could have better spent that time on, I don't know, business planning for the next year or doing keyword research or SEO strategy for another website, right? So it's I need to work on that myself, just stop being so damn reactionary to when problems arise, because the reality is problems are always going to arise.
Right. You talked a lot about how with the people you talk to, you feel pretty dumb when it comes to AI, which makes sense because you're in a circle of people all going hard at this. And then you go to a room like a not calling them dumb, but they're just in different fields. You go to a
It's
chamber.
traditional. It's old school, traditional businesses, right?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. How did you get yourself in a circle of people that are all pushing towards this AI thing? Because obviously you're at the bottom of the totem pole with your people because they're all really experienced in that. How'd you find people like that?
So yeah, actually it's our web developer, and there's a couple others, that I see on like threads and different, chats and whatever. I don't know them personally. But there's a couple people I know personally, my business partner, Daniel Lynch, and then our developer, his name's Tyler. These are the two guys that literally are just in the weeds of automation. Zapier, HubSpot, WordPress. So let me just put this to you in perspective, okay? I'm just going to give you a little AI SEO automation system of what we're currently working on. This blew my mind. Let's see if this blows your mind here. So the ultimate SEO playbook is this with automation. Have you ever heard of like WP Sheet Editor by chance?
No.
So essentially it's a WordPress plugin, right? WordPress.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's a WordPress plugin where you can edit websites on a spreadsheet format. So you can download your entire database into a CSV file, upload it to Google Sheets, and now you can edit all your different columns like your H1 tags, your actual body of the content, your featured images, your URLs, your categories. You can edit every single thing of your website database in a spreadsheet format now. So that's the WP Sheet Editor. Okay, that's cool. But where this gets really interesting is you can now automate this. So there's a two-way sync now with Google Sheets and WP Sheet Editor. So if I go in and change a bunch of H1s or, whatever, images, content, I press upload, it uploads straight to the website from Google Sheets, right? But let's take it a step deeper here. Okay, that's still really cool, but to take it even a step deeper, this is out of my realm. But like the developer I work with can set up macros to like sync with SEMrush and Ahrefs. Like, hey, what's the best practice for this H1? Scan the SERP on this. What's the best practice for this meta description? Write this meta description. And like do all these prompts with macros in Google Sheets. And in real time, it automates and then goes straight up to the website without us doing anything. That's the long-term play.
Holy crap. Holy moly.
It still blows my mind, like trying to process it. But if you've ever been in the weeds of like WordPress and editing blog posts and pages, it's pretty damn tedious going through one by one, editing an article, clicking upload, waiting 10 seconds for the server to refresh, right? You know what I'm talking about.
100%. Even the basics, like even on, I just use Squarespace to show my portfolio stuff.
Squarespace is good too, as long as you're not using like Wix or Google Sites.
I know, yeah. It's so dang tedious, all that stuff. It's crazy. Yeah, you don't put that in the field of AI yet, but it's already getting there, which is nuts.
That's the latest thing that really is blowing my mind is just automating an entire website and SEO. Wix is actually, I saw Wix and I hate Wix. Just whatever, it's a thing, right? I'm a WordPress guy. There's more customizations, integrations, whatever. But I saw Wix came out with something where now you can literally just build a website by making like 2 prompts and it pumps up a website. So it's like this whole idea now of like, oh, I'm not a developer. I don't know how to build websites. Like you can literally go to Wix or some other AI tool and they'll just build websites for you now.
I'm going to clip that out. You saying you can literally go to Wix.
Look it up. Look up Wix AI. Google search Wix AI. And there's something I saw where you can just prompt it and within 5 or 10 minutes, it'll spin up a website.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, that's the thing. Wow. That is nuts. Holy crap. Let's just go into like the business world. What got you out of corporate? What got you sick of corporate setting?
Yeah, so couple things. And I don't know if you've read what's the book? I'm drawing a blank right now. Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Work Week. Have you read 4-Hour Work Week?
Heard of it.
So I would give that a read. It's a little outdated now, which is some of like the automation and outsourcing stuff he talks about, but the concepts are gold. So long story short, I read this book called The 4-Hour Work Week. And there's a ton of great quotes and it was very relatable. Tim Ferriss was in the corporate world. I was too. So everything was just so relatable. He gave this example of someone like, if you want to raise in corporate America, grab your phone and walk around with a handful of papers and act like you're talking to someone and people will think you're the best employee at the company. And I'm like, holy shit, that's so true. Because corporate tends to reward busyness over actual production. I used to work at this department where there was this guy I worked with. He'd show up at 7:30 One day he'd get the most done, right? One day he would leave at 3 or 3:30, but oh my God, he left before 4 o'clock. How dare he? He must be a bad employee, even though he just did all the work, right? It's so backwards to me. So that book kind of opened that up for me. And then also there was this quote, and he said, don't choose unhappiness over uncertainty, right? So if you really think about that, how many people choose unhappiness over uncertainty just to get the benefits, the 401k match, the guaranteed salary? And so once I read that, I really thought deep about that. And I'm thinking about maybe getting a tattoo or something about that, because like it really applies to my life. And that's just when I like woke up and I'm like, holy shit, like I'm not like unhappy by any means, but I'm scared of the unknown, like most people are, And so I took a dive into the unknown. And, once I realized that really the sky's the limit and the opportunities are whatever you want to create for yourself, right? It's no BS. It's the amount of opportunities are endless when you work for yourself, I'm sure, as you've started to find out.
Yeah.
That was just what it was for me. It's like, I don't want to be pigeonholed to work for someone for 40 years of my life where I can expect a 3% raise and maybe expect a promotion every 2 years. Oh my God, let me climb the ladder, right? Which is great for some people. But when you're a go-getter, and you definitely are, I've seen your posts, you're a hustler, right? That's just not going to fly, because it's so old school in the corporate world of like, you're expected to do the same thing 9 to 5 for 40 years. And it's like, life is so damn short, man. It truly is. And once you get older, you'll start to realize that more. So for me, it was like, you know what? You just need to take the leap and just figure it out. Just figure it out, man.
Yeah, no. And that equally can be a scary thing. But like I said, you're taking away that ceiling that you have in a corporate world, which is nice. My headspace right now is all business building and whatever, but like to kind of put into perspective, like when I'm getting lost in my words right now, but when you're in a job, you're kind of stuck at that limit right there. And when you kind of leap off into the unknown and do a few hard days in a row trying to figure out all the back end crap, once you get a system going, you literally get what you put out, which is really nice. And it's right. I feel like that's how that should be.
Well, and especially if you're young, bro, like if you have no kids, you have no responsibilities, maybe you have debt and all that, right? 23, 24. But if you're young, honestly, like if you're ambitious and you want to do something, it's now or never, because the older you get, once you hit 30, you're in a serious relationship, you have kids, that time is dwindling, right? So like, that's my advice to people is like, before you have actual real responsibilities and you're married and you have kids, you have to make the jump if you want to, right? Not everyone wants to, but if it's been on your mind, you just have to do it, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. And as you get older, life gets harder, right? There's more responsibilities.
Right. And it's weird too, because there's a lot of hype behind starting your own business now. So that's kind of gets into like the crypto conversation and the AI conversation. There's a little bit of sparklies there now.
There is.
And
Grant Cardone's very good at selling stuff to people.
Yeah, he is. Grant Cardone and other hype speakers like Gary Vaynerchuk, they make it sound really, really nice. But if you want it, which if it's on your mind long enough, you got to go get it.
Yeah. The more your back is against the wall too, the harder you will typically work. That's just human psychology. But to your point, I'm glad you brought that up, because they like to make entrepreneurship sound glamorous and, oh my God, I sound like an Amway salesperson right now, but like, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, work for yourself, quit your 9 to 5, own hours, 6 figures. It's so easy. And it's like, once you get in the weeds, you quickly find out, especially when you're, just getting into it, it's like, holy shit, this is hard. Right. Yeah. But there's just so much BS around like people wanting to like start your own business and this and that. But those people that are promoting that are very smart in the sense that they are leeching off people who don't have the actual education yet of what it takes to become an entrepreneur. They just hear starting your own business. That sounds incredible. But what they don't hear is, oh my God, S Corp, LLC, EIN, all the, where I'm going with this, all the different nuances of actually goes into it,
Yeah. My biggest thing has been, finally I've grasped somewhat of an income to where I have to be careful with my accounting now. But that's been a problem. I'm like, oh shoot, that's getting all loose. I thought I had the EIN, the LLC crap figured out. And now if you scale, you get more problems, and it's
Oh,
just
absolutely.
constant stuff like that. It's
And
so funny.
tax man always wins in the end, man. I'm not gonna go into the rabbit hole of that. But the tax man will always win. And there's things you can do. I was an S corp at one point, but you can become an S corp too eventually if you're making enough revenue, where you can pay yourself a salary and then you can take the rest in distribution. So once you start to learn the world of self-employment, in my opinion, things start to make a lot more sense of, like, politicians always say, oh, the rich don't pay taxes, this and that. Well, there's a lot of loopholes when you're self-employed, right? And you wouldn't know that unless you go into that world.
Right, right. I mean, it just opens all the understanding you need if you're employed, which can be good, but you'll never dive into those things, and you'll always just kind of have this like fog in that area. And now I'm diving deep into it. I'm like, holy crap, this is the system. Holy moly.
Oh yeah, there's so much to learn, man, and that's why most entrepreneurs fail. Like they get into it, all this, shiny object syndrome. I keep saying this, but they get into it thinking there's all this sparkle and glitter and glamour. But once you get into it, there's a reason why I think it's like 80 or 90% of entrepreneurs fail after 3 years or 5 years or some wild statistic like that. And just for what you just said, there's just so much that goes into it that people don't expect, and they don't want to put in the effort and like, oh, this is hard, I'm just going to quit and go back to 9 to 5. That's just what happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So
I was also going to bring up too what was the thing we were just talking about, the entrepreneurship stuff. I had a thought, but keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I was just going to dive into like, did you set up your business before April of this year, or did everything start in April?
No, so my LLC actually started in 2019. When I first went on my own, I started my LLC. And honestly, a piece of advice I'd have for people is everyone, if you're planning on doing anything on the side to make any side income, everyone should have an LLC, in my opinion. It's like maybe you would know this more than I would. It's like $300 to $500 to set up, depending on like an attorney and whatever other fees, right? But that also protects you so much so where if you ever get sued for business wise, if you didn't have an LLC, they can come after your personal assets. But if you have an LLC, they can only come after your business assets, which for most people is a lot less than what their personal assets are, right? So I just think in general, anyone doing anything on the side should always have an LLC.
Yeah, and even if you're making like dirt money with that, you at least learn the basics of like, all right, this is how I process all my business money through my business account. This is
Absolutely.
how that looks. This is how filing taxes for LLC looks. I mean, there's just a lot of things you can pick up on without even generating that much income. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I remember the thought I was going to say. So
hit it.
People, so like back to the whole, like everyone wants to become an entrepreneur. People just, I don't know, they just feel like they should just quit and dive in immediately. I just feel like that's such bad advice, right? Do what, I think I did this back in the day. Start to dabble on the side while you have security blanket. So if you're working a 9 to 5 right now and you have the benefits and you have, the steady paycheck, but God, you're aspiring to become an entrepreneur, start a blog, start a podcast, start a brand, a TikTok, a social media, anything. Just start something on the side while you have that security. Yes, it's a lot of work, and that's why most people don't do it. They want to go to work in the morning and sleep in, and then they want to come home and go to bed and watch Netflix, right? But if you actually want to like go something and get after it, you have to put in the extra time. And my business partner right now, we all make excuses, right? Internal excuses. I won't say his name, but I have a lot of respect for him. He has 3 kids. So back in the day, he was working 60, 70 hours a week on the road. And he told me there were many 2 or 3 hour nights of sleep where what he would do is he created this affiliate stuff. He created a website. He started YouTube, started getting some serious traction, right? But long story short, he had 3 kids and he built this thing on the side while he was working full time, 70 hours a week. So it's like, what the hell is my excuse? Because I know it's possible. So it's like, we make all these things up in our head where it's like, I don't have time for this, or I can't do that because I have to do this. And it's like, if you really want something, you will find the time.
Yeah, for sure. And a job and an income is the perfect way to start up something. It's all about kind of leveling your risks a little bit. So if I didn't have enough income to hold myself up, I would love having a job. That'd be one way I could hold myself up. So if you're going to start it with your job, don't just dive off. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of work to do both of those things together, but doing entrepreneurship in general is a lot of work too. Even more work if you're going to drop off your job right away. I mean, it's perfect. Talk to me about the Loop.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that you helped found that. I was just like, oh, this looks sick. Nice job.
Yeah. So I'll give my co-founder a little praise here, Dallas Downey. He is the co-founder of The Loop with myself. The Loop, we started this about 2 years ago. It's a networking group in Des Moines. Essentially, we're trying to target kind of 90s kids, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds. We'll make exceptions depending on industries and stuff like that. But we are, simply put, we were tired of the traditional networking game, right? Where it's like, show up, there's always the same 3 realtors, there's always the same 3 financial advisors slipping you their business card, wanting to get coffee the next day. And it's like, he called me one day, he's like, dude, this is bullshit. Like, we should just start our own thing. And I'm like, all right, like, what do you have in mind? So there's this group called the Loop KC, and this is how the Loop started. They're based in Kansas City, and Dallas had a connection with someone in Kansas City. He's like, hey, why don't you start the Loop Des Moines? And so Dallas called me first thing. He's like, hey, let's do this Loop Des Moines thing. I was a little skeptical at first. I'm like, was this like a pyramid scheme? Are we like charging people? Like, what the hell's going on? He's like, no, like, this is just a no bullshit group, never charge anyone anything, no fees, nothing. We just put on an event every month and people connect in different industries. And I've already seen it happen. Like, I know people that have done business with each other through the Loop. I gained a client from the Loop for paid search, right? Yeah. So in my opinion, and I think this is where the Loop excels, business is second coming. Business should never be first coming if you're going to network with someone, because that's how you get turned away, right? People don't like the hard sell. But when you make it second coming and you form that relationship first, I'm all ears. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to build the relationship and then you can do business. And that's kind of what we built with the Loop. And I think we're, 100, 200 members now. We have a new class every 20 or so people every quarter. But yeah, if you're ever in Des Moines and stop by, man, I mean, we're growing like crazy now. It's like everyone sees us all over, like you just asked me, everyone sees us all over LinkedIn and like, what the hell is the Loop and this and that. We're getting some decent names that like speak at these events now that we run. So really it's like, it's another thing, right, on my plate. But what do we have to lose? You know what I mean? There's literally nothing to lose. If this thing pans out to be the biggest networking group in Des Moines, holy shit, that just opened a lot of doors,
Yeah. What is a typical kind of, maybe you divide it in quarters. What does a typical quarter of Loop events look like?
Yeah, so we have an event every month, but every quarter we have like a new class, like a new member class of like 15, 20 people that we're kind of interviewing, and, they like us and they fill out a form and we, kind of prospect them. But every event is typically either just traditional happy hour, like a patio or a bar. And then we also like to do like panels, like speaking panels. Like we've had, notable people in Des Moines that are 40 under 40 winners, right? That'll come in and speak about their experience and what they do. So yeah, it's mostly just a matter of like, we do some volunteering stuff, some charitable stuff. But it's kind of a mix of just networking, panels, charitable events. I don't know. There's just so much we can do, man. It's like at the end of the day, what we realized through COVID is that people just want to communicate with people. They love to network. They just want to talk to people, form relationships with people. They don't want to sit through a camera and do all this virtual shit anymore. And that's kind of how we capitalized.
Right. Maybe I'm curious, what did your first Loop Des Moines event look like?
Yeah, the first event.
Yeah.
Oh, bro. The first event was like five people, maybe a little more. It was like 5 people. And it's funny because me and Dallas just talked about this. So like, remember that first event at Peachtree where we had like 5 people, right? But now, I mean, every event, every happy hour, like we just had one at 300 last month. There were 50 people there. You know what I mean? So it's like, people are starting to like pay attention to us and like trying to get in. And I looked at our followers on LinkedIn. We're almost at 1,000 now, but that's not the point. I looked through our follower list and like, there's some CEOs, like there's some big names in Des Moines that are like following our page and like starting to like make note of us now. So it's like, I'm like, holy shit, Dallas, like where could this thing go? Right. So we're just kind of riding the wave right now and just, I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, what was kind of your game plan of getting that on its feet when it come to like advertising and stuff like that?
Yeah. The first thing we did was we just hit up our network, right? So like we had a good network of people, the both of us. So that was kind of the first round. And then the second round was just building brand. LinkedIn has been huge for us. So LinkedIn and Facebook, creating these events, reaching out to, another thing we did too is we actually made connections with people in recruiting at big companies. So like, I forget the name of the company, but like Wells Fargo, Athene. So they would send us out like, hey, look at the Loop. Are you a young professional? Look at the Loop. So then people are like, what the hell is the Loop? And I've had a few people come like, oh yeah, I saw you on a company email that was sent out. And I'm like, well, that's awesome. Cause that was part of the strategy. Right. Yeah. And then once you build up a core following and you start posting it, tagging people, well, their friends see it. Right. And if we like someone, we're probably going to like their friends too. So that's just how it works, is like you tag people, you build this core group, and we definitely have our core group of 30 to 50 people. But based on that 30 to 50 people that we like, they bring their friends, and I'm starting to like their friends now. Because if I like someone, I'm probably going to like their friends too. It's just who you hang out with, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all referral stuff now. I mean, from the ground up, it was social and like trying to like cold email. But now it's basically just a referral game.
Yeah, no, and I love that. And it's a little bit refreshing too, this kind of niche of group. It's like people love supporting local things. It's not like you're trying to sell some like product that you developed or something like that. It's literally just like, let's come and hang out. If you love Des Moines and love, I don't know, networking, come here. We're no BS. I love that.
Absolutely, man. And we always joke, have you heard of Andy Frisella, like Real AF podcast? So we always throw that joke at the beginning, pay the fee. And everyone's like, what do you mean fee? I'm like, share it on social media. That's paying the fee, because he always says that. He's like, share the show.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How did you know, like, for me, that's like such a different thing that I wouldn't think to try. How did you know that you wanted to give this your all to try to promote it?
For the Loop?
For the Loop, yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, I feel like I haven't been doing a lot for it lately. But I remember when this thing was starting and we're kind of building it from the ground up, it was one of those things where it's like, you know what? And I talk to Dallas all the time about this. I'm just like, you know what? If we really turn this into something, this could create endless opportunities for us, right? And we're both entrepreneurs, we're both self-employed. So it's not like we're looking to get in at a company or anything like that. But two things. One, it would help us personally just increase our connections in Des Moines and get us with some very like high profile people in Des Moines. It opens the door a lot easier to say like, hey, I'm the co-founder of this group called The Loop. We have all these members and, they've probably heard of us by now. So that's number one. But number two, the business is second coming, right? So like if I'm a respected guy, co-founder of The Loop, well, someone's probably going to want to do business with me if they're looking for, SEO or paid search or some other offering that I have. So there's really twofold. It's the networking, just kind of expanding my good, valuable connections in Des Moines. But the business is second coming too, right? That's all part of it.
Right, yeah. Well, what I've noticed in business a lot of times is people are really dope, and people are usually the answer. So knowing an extra few people is never a bad thing.
People do business with people, man. I mean, I hear it all the time. No one does business with companies, especially if you're doing like a B2B sale or something like that. Usually it's like, oh, I met so-and-so or I know so-and-so. I want to do business with him. I mean, think about the people you do business with. A lot of it's probably from the personal connections you have with the people you're doing business with. It's not the actual brand of that company.
All of it. It's just about being consistent, showing up consistently, and just being someone that they can be personable with. I mean, that's the game. I love that. What keeps you in Des Moines?
So I have a house now. I'm in West Des Moines. I have a house now. I have a fiance that lives with me. She can probably hear me as I'm talking loud on this podcast.
Yeah.
Those are the big two. And then also the third one's my network. So I don't know. I tried the whole like move back home, travel full time, like digital nomad type thing in 2020. But then like a really good deal came on the market for a house. And I was like, I do miss my friends in Des Moines a lot. And that's where my network is. So I pulled the trigger and I don't know, like part of me some days wishes I could do the nomad stint again just to get out of the house. But it's the network, bro. It's like, I don't know, once you find your solid group of like friends and business connections and just people that you can chat with, it's very hard to leave that, in my opinion.
No, it's super hard. I haven't really gone into the nomad thing by any means, but what I've really come to love is like, this is my first summer just chilling not chilling. I'm actually not chilling at all, but it's just like, I enjoy the process, being in the same spot, doing the same thing, especially when you're really engaged with what you're doing. It's very hard to leave. I agree. even if I wanted to take a trip, like I'm going to take a trip, I'd be able to do the same work, obviously from the computer, but I'm still going to be able to do it a little less intensely than if I was just doing it here in Ames, is what I noticed. So there's something beautiful about just staying in the loop. The loop, haha.
The loop. Yeah, I was joking. I'm so out of the loop, you know. But I wanna hear kind of what you're doing in your journey right now, and like tell me about some of your aspirations right now and what you're thinking about with your business. Because I'm curious. I always love talking to like myself like 3 or 4 years ago, right? Where I'm like, I don't know if you're brand new to this, but like, I mean, explain to me if you're brand new to this. But when I was brand new, I was like so anxious and like I had all these different ideas and I just wanted to dive in. So like, explain to me kind of where you're at.
Yeah, so I described my journey. Obviously started as a side thing in high school. I started a clothing brand, and from that clothing brand, I'm like, I need to take cool photos. So I brought a camera. And that camera, obviously, a camera can get you a lot of things. So I just started doing like people's family photos on the side, senior photos, stuff like that. One-off projects, didn't really think much of it. But I always had that mindset of like, I'm going to use these tools to make me extra, side income. And then got to college, still having these aspirations of wanting to do stuff with these things, having a lot of skills like editing, talking to a camera, video editing, photo editing, all that stuff. And then basic branding stuff, graphic design a little bit. I like to say I get 70% good at something, then I move on to the next thing. So I just want to be a multi-tool a little bit. But in college, I got my first reoccurring video gig. For this much a month, I make 4 deliverables. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool, because when I did senior photos and family photos, I always had to wonder, okay, am I going to get this opportunity next month, or is this just going to go away? So that's kind of when I got into reoccurring video.
Yeah, the retainers versus the one-offs.
Exactly, the retainers. And that was a great way to just know that, like, if I get this thing done, that gives me the platform to, and the finances to do all these other ideas that I have. So picked up a few more retainers, making content, making video content, whatever. And all I want to do is just do that the best of my ability. I've always wanted to dabble into, networking and having a personal brand. So this podcast has been one thing that I've been doing that with. And just going at this, I've never wanted to be employed by anyone either. So just being able to have the opportunity to be going at this at 20 years old is a blessing. So that's what
crazy,
I'm
bro.
Right now.
See, I was 23 until that thing hit me in the head to like figure out, holy shit, like maybe I should try this entrepreneurship, and the whole 9 to 5 isn't going to be my next 40 years. But the fact that you're 20 years old and you've already like had the light bulb in the head moment, I mean, you have a lot more time than most people do when they start to figure things out and like, oh my God, I want to become an entrepreneur, but keep grinding, bro. Like even just doing this podcast, like people will say to me all the time, if I do something that's not work related, like why would you spend all this extra time that's not actually like moving the needle, or it's not work? But what people don't understand, it's personal brand is everything, right? So I'll give you an example of my business partner, Daniel. He could have, I mean, we're working on it right now. He's one of the smartest guys I know, and he's got the personality, and he knows this. His personal life is just a cluster, right? Love him to death, but I'm going to be honest. His personal life's a cluster. He could have the best personal brand out there. Where I'm going with this is we would hire consultants. I'm not going to say their names, but we hired a couple big SEO figures in the space, just to try to like pick their brain, and they charge like $100 or $200 an hour. And because of their personal brand, they can do that. They have millions of subscribers on YouTube and TikTok and this and that. Well, we come to find out once you open the curtain, holy shit, we actually know more than these people do. But why do they make a lot more than us? It's their personal brand. Now, you could be the smartest guy in the room if you have no personal. Here, the thing is, and what I learned from this whole experience, you could be the smartest guy in the room or the smartest guy in the history of the world. If you have no personal brand, some average Joe who just starts a podcast has more leverage than you do.
Exactly. And I kind of take advantage of that a little bit too. I don't know everything. I am the average Joe coming in. I'm going to be more valuable if I have 100 podcasts under my belt with over 14 clips for each podcast out in the world. This average Joe is going to be just competing in the world just because he's consistent. I think that's an important thing to realize.
And the beautiful part is too, is when you're having on guests, you know, hopefully they share it and share clips and this and that. Now you're putting yourself into whole other networks, right? That's the benefit of having guests on your shows, is when they share all the clips. Holy shit, you do video? Well, I need video. I'm going to reach out to you. You know, you're branching into whole other networks. And that's the beautiful part about this.
Exactly. And you touched on people kind of saying like, why do you do this outside of work? When you really dive into this, nothing's work. All of it is just doing this process. So when I think of, even when I was working my coffee shop job, me doing my coffee shop job plus me doing stuff on the side, it's all me getting towards this higher ceiling. It's not, oh, coffee shop job is work, separate that, now I got to do this. No, it's all just trying to get myself towards this higher ceiling, which is just being able to do what you want whenever you want and being really fulfilled in it. That's just kind of what we're all going for here.
Oh, absolutely, man. And, you know, some people rag on me too, and I rag on myself sometimes. It's like, why do I work? It's like some days I'll work like 16 hours or 20 hours, 18, whatever. And people will ask me like, why do you work so hard, dude? It's just work. And it's like, but the thing is, you're thinking work is a chore. I don't think this job is a chore. What I'm doing is I enjoy it. To me, this isn't work. This is play, right? Work versus play. To me, this is quote unquote play. I love this. I love the process of building things and systems and creating blog posts and WordPress sites and doing all the stuff that I do. It doesn't feel like a chore to me. And that's where I think there's such a disconnect between an entrepreneur versus someone who works a 9-to-5 job, is they view work as a chore. Whereas an entrepreneur, hopefully, right, views work as play and not a chore. And that's the big disconnect.
Right. And yeah, if you've been doing it for less than 6 months, it might be a chore and you just don't know it yet. But if you've been doing it for a while and you know, that's the thing.
It is, man. And one thing too I want to bring up, and I actually just watched a video. Are you familiar with Brian Dean by chance?
No, I haven't heard of him.
He's a big SEO guy, SEO content guy. But one thing I want to kind of mention to you here and just on the show, he had this video the other day that, like, you know, most videos are the same, whatever. But this one like got my attention, and he talked about the difference between treadmill traffic versus passive traffic. Are you familiar with this?
No, let's hear it.
So treadmill traffic, okay, is when you're creating all this content, social media, news articles, and you're boom, boom, boom. What's the next content, right? You're constantly on the treadmill trying to get traffic, okay? But that's what most people do, is they just think, I'm going to write content, put out as much content as possible, because that's how you move the needle. But the reality is you have to think about passive content. What is content that I can create that's passively, that's evergreen? So examples are like YouTube videos that are going after keywords, blog posts that are going after keywords, things that rank over time and that are evergreen topics that aren't news-based. Because when you make passive income and you make passive content, videos, blog posts, over time it compounds. And that's what people don't understand, is like SEO. That's why SEO and like YouTube, for example, are such good channels, is because the traffic, if you're doing it right and you're going after keywords and doing the tags and like doing everything correctly, your channel compounds. You gain more subscribers. What happens when you gain more subscribers? Oh, the algorithm likes you more. They're going to rank your videos higher for certain things, right? It's all a game of compound. Where if you're doing treadmill traffic, it's just boom, boom, boom. I have to get as much content out there. You're constantly on the treadmill, and it's such a grind trying to put out content to get people to focus on you. So like, that's the thing that if I were younger, I would tell myself is, yes, it might see, like, I literally today, I put together this opt-in guide for my affiliate site that took 10 hours, right? Am I going to see immediate results? Absolutely not. But what I have to think to myself is, I'm going to see results 6 months from now, right? And it's going to compound. But if I were to spend that time just writing a news article, I'll see the quick bump, but it's just gone tomorrow. You know, so you really have to think about long-term when you're creating content. Like, this stuff's great, but you're going to recycle these clips and it's long-term, right? You're not thinking about, let me just post this podcast tomorrow and boom, I'm never going to talk about it again, right? So you always have to think about passive content so you're not on the treadmill.
Right, and we're stuck on that treadmills part. Everyone's speaking on it like the number one way to get into this game is to make content, but they don't really talk about, like, is this content going to be useful for you? Because ultimately, every piece of content is a potential lead for someone.
It is.
So no matter if that lead comes tomorrow or if it comes 6 months from now, who cares? You know, make something that's going to compound a little bit.
Yeah, man, and content's great. I'm not trying to say, like, treadmill content's garbage. It has its purpose. Like, news content's good. I mean, everything has its purpose. But where I see a lot of people, including myself in the past, have fallen into the trap is they just keep doing treadmill content. Like, oh my God, I got to get 5 articles out this week. Not thinking like, if you spend the same time doing one article that's after a big keyword and you spend all this time and try to rank for it, that will do a lot more good for you in 3 months than trying to just fit in 5 blog posts just to get them out there.
For sure. And I've noticed that too. I've I post these clips and then I forget about them weeks later. And then I'm like, wait, these are still leads that are getting me people clicking on my page, which has been really cool to see. But totally, you got to make sure you're making the right stuff. You touched on me kind of talking about learn the basics so you can talk the talk for SEO. I want to know, maybe one of those basics, something I could learn right now.
Yeah. SEO basic. So there's 3 aspects of SEO. There's on-page SEO, there's off-page SEO, and there's technical SEO. Technical is like your link structure, your indexing in the search engines, your what's called core web vitals or your website speed. Off-page SEO is just backlinks. I'm sure you've heard of backlinks, getting backlinks to your site. Yeah. But on-page SEO is probably where I would start. On-page SEO is you go onto your website, okay, what's an H1 tag? That's SEO 101, right? What's a meta description? What are H2 tags, H3 tags? What are internal links? What are anchor text? What's alt text in an image? And trying to figure out what are all these different on-page SEO ranking factors that I can use. And then once you understand on-page SEO, then let's go to off-page and talk about backlinks. Then let's go to technical and talk about core web vitals. But the very basics would be on-page SEO. And you can use a tool like Yoast SEO if you're using WordPress. And there's all these different SEO plugins out there now, and there's a million different tutorials that explain the basics of on-page SEO. But long story short, I just rambled, is I would learn the basics of on-page SEO.
For sure. And it's applicable to every situation, for sure. And my website wouldn't even look into that. It's struggling on the SEO side right now.
Well, the first thing though is you have to understand is what are you trying to rank for? That's step one. Is like, I know people say this all the time. They're like, well, my SEO sucks. I'm not ranking for anything. Well, let's take a step back. What's your strategy? What do you want to rank for?
Right. Exactly. And I don't even have like a game plan for that. So that's my struggle there, is I'm not even giving the time a thought. I'm not complaining.
And that's step one, bro. Like videographer in Ames, videographer Des Moines. I don't know. I'm just throwing random things, right? Yeah, Start a Google My Business. You get a business profile set up, right?
Yeah. That's where I'm saying, like, I'm not even complaining about it because I know I haven't even looked into it. It's kind of like what you're saying. You wake up in war every day. It's like, this is a problem that needs fixed, but doesn't need fixed at the moment, for sure. No, that's sick.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, bro, like, people stress out about this all the time. But if and you seem to be really good at your craft, if you're good enough at your craft and you're doing good enough work that you're sharing, right, in your LinkedIn or your network, people will take notice, right? So like at some point, I wouldn't stress too much about like my SEO is not good, blah, blah, blah. If you keep sharing good work that you're doing for clients, people will take notice, and it just becomes a game of referrals at some point.
Yeah. No, I've seen so many people, even, I try to do my brand online or whatever, but I see some people that don't even put any effort into website or anything because their work's so dang good. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, bro. And then the other thing too, I'll say is like, I fall into this trap all the time. Don't compare yourself, man. Because I look at all these influencers and these SEO guys and these affiliate marketers making $50,000 a month. It's like, holy shit, that sounds amazing. But once you read and like digest that content, it's bad for your mental health, because then you think you're behind. And I'm like, now I'm all stressed out. Oh my God, I'm only making this much when I should be making that much. Like, what do I do? And now I'm scatterbrained, right? It's like you really have to cut out these distractions and stop playing the comparison game.
Right. No, 100%. 100%. Oh, I had something on the head. I was going to, at the end of each episode, I always ask just kind of like a brief what's next. What are you focused on? What's coming up?
Yeah, so what's next, man? Honestly, what's next for me is I'm trying to ease out of the client work. Okay, I love the clients I work with, and if they hear this, I hope they don't take that the wrong way, and I'll hopefully just keep like, maybe 2 or 3 core clients. But ideally what I want to do is just have all pure affiliate marketing, create my personal brand, whether it's through myself, but we're actually working on this AI affiliate site. It's called AI Insider Tips, AIinsidertips.com if you want to take a look. The site's in the works. It's already built out. But the long-term play is to just do pure affiliates, right? And because affiliate, the sky's the limit with affiliates, man. I do VPN affiliate marketing, and there's no like, oh, you can only make $5,000. No, Q4, you can make 10, 15, 20 grand a month, but Q1, you might make 2 or 3 grand, right? It's really dependent of how much work you're willing to put into it and how much you want to learn about the affiliate stuff. But the beauty of the affiliate versus client is the affiliate is passive. Once you put in the upfront work and the affiliates, like let's say I put out a YouTube video, I could get 5 affiliate sales from that YouTube video. But if I do work for a client, it's just a nonstop hamster wheel of doing work for clients. And that's why the client work, as you could probably attest to, is just so grueling at some point. So I'm trying to get out of that and just focus more on the passive side on the affiliates.
Yeah, some people get retainer and passive mixed up, and I'm like, no. It's very active work for sure.
Oh, passive income comes from active effort, bro. I
know.
hate when people like throw that term around like it's just sit on a beach and just make money. It's like, hell no, man. That's so BS.
Yeah, no, you gotta put in the work to do that. Well, dude, appreciate you coming on and talking. You're diving me into a world that I have not even looked into at all, so that's super insightful. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I hope I helped, man. Thanks for having me on, and I look forward to, seeing the clips and just seeing what you come up with here, and I'll definitely share it. So
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Take her easy, bro.
hey, you too, bro. I'll say hi to Aaron for you here next week.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Be in touch, bro. Take care.